Ever since the time of the Pilgrims, we Americans have been called upon not infrequently to defend our freedom, our homes, and all that an American home stands for. Now, once again, we've had to take down the musket and fight. But this is a new kind of war. Today's battle lines are at once very far away and yet nearer to our homes than ever before. From the recent history of bombings elsewhere, we know that peaceful suburban streets, thousands of miles from war, can overnight be reduced to smoking ruins. When the enemy studies his maps with an eye to bombing targets, he looks for the vast steel mills, the great factories, the assembly and machine tool plants, the railroads, the shipping docks, the strategic highways and bridges. But high-flying planes frequently miss their targets by several miles. Or maybe they can't find their targets and have to unload their bombs on whatever is convenient. And all too often, out of sheer savagery, they bomb or machine gun civilians without rhyme or reason. When it will come, or whether it will come, we don't know. But this we do know, we'd better be ready. The Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and the Marines all have their coordinated eyes and ears, their patrol planes and seacraft. But just as important as all of these is the vast army of civilian observers. Spaced along both coasts on an average of 6 miles apart and covering all other danger points are people from all walks of life, thousands of them, watching, vigilant 24 hours a day. These are the Minutemen of civilian defense.
Army Flash.
Army Flash. Information Center. Go ahead, please.
This man, along with thousands of other civilian observers, has been trained by Army officers to recognize types and sizes of planes by their silhouettes, to record the right information, to report it quickly. Thus, a single flight of planes headed in your direction would be seen and reported by hundreds of civilians. And when an observer repeats the magic words, Army Flash, all telephone operators are trained to give the call priority over all local and long-distance lines to the nearest information center. Here, after extraneous information has been filtered out, the reports form a pattern which is indicated by arrows, which trace the line of flight on a huge map. And the symbols on that block there tell at a glance the flight number, the number of planes, how many motors they have, and whether they are flying high, medium, or low. From an observation balcony, the interceptor commander watches the map, directs his planes accordingly, sending them up at the strategic moment to intercept the oncoming bombers. When enemy bombers reach a certain point, a representative of the Federal Communications Commission orders the radio stations off the air. Otherwise, the enemy might ride in on the beam.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we are temporarily leaving the air in conformity with the National Defense Program. Keep your dials tuned where they are so that upon resumption of our service, we may bring you the latest information. Please do not use your telephone during the emergency.
From the Information Center, a Civil Aeronautics Authority representative orders all U.S. transports and private planes grounded. Such other defense agencies as the Coast and Anti-Aircraft Artillery are also operated by commands at the Information Center. Thus, the Information Center is set up entirely for military purposes, with but one exception: civilian defense. Here, along with the military commanders, is the Civil Air Raid Warning Officer, taking his information from the same sources, transmitting it with the same speed. There are several of these information centers in the United States, each of them covering a large area. From these, the air raid warning is flashed to district warning centers, of which there are several in our state. Where a district warning center is in a large city, it will also be the main control center and is sometimes located in the central police station. When the planes are still some distance away, but seem definitely headed in your direction, warnings speed in by long distance and simultaneously a yellow light is flashed on. This first or yellow warning is instantly passed along from the district warning and main control center to substations called the report and control centers all over the city and in the surrounding small towns. In each of these, a skeleton crew remains on duty 24 hours a day. The moment a warning comes in from the district warning and main control center, they flash on their yellow lights. Pass the word along by telephone to essential service chiefs. But this first or yellow warning signal back in the district warning and main control center is also a cue for a smoothly trained organization to go into action. Representatives of the police chief, the fire department, and other key men take their places, along with the commander in charge of civilian defense for that entire area. From the yellow signal until the bombs start to fall, every minute counts. At night, steel mills are advised so they can black out their plants to prevent that telltale glow against the sky. Hospitals are advised so no delicate operations will be in progress. And minutes later, the blue light flashes on. From Information Center to the District Warning and Main Control Center to the Report and Control Center to the Air Raid Wardens, the entire organization is now on the alert, standing by for developments. Then the red signal. Siren switches are thrown. If it is night, the city blacks out and waits. But let us pause here to consider the most important job in the entire defense setup. Typical of those handling that job is Sam Rankin. Sam operates a grocery store, but he could just as well be a druggist or a clerk or most anything else. The important thing is that he is well liked and respected and takes an active interest in community affairs. He was over there with the AEF in 1917 and had experience under fire. And now, in addition to operating his grocery store, Sam is an air raid warden. He is responsible, along with 4 or 5 other wardens who work with him, for some 500 people living in an area covering about a city block. And his job begins long before there's any sign of bombing planes, with training the people in his area how to be ready when and if. But as Sam quickly discovered, you don't become an air raid warden overnight. For weeks he attended classes in his spare time and studied. The fire department gave him lessons in simple firefighting and how to deal with incendiary bombs. These and many other things Sam learned. And when he had passed the examination, he was sworn in and presented with an official certificate by the government. One of the first things Sam did as an air warden was get acquainted with his families. He is courteously insistent that all attics be completely cleared out. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a chance of saving the house from an incendiary bomb. And what's more, a lot of the things stored in attics may be of value to the waste materials program. Sam asks that good stoppers be provided for the bathtub and sink so these can be kept filled during an air raid, along with extra tubs and other containers, providing an ample water supply even though the water service is disrupted. He also teaches the proper way to use water in fighting incendiary bombs. Here he demonstrates with a stirrup pump.
Joe, most of the time during air raids, you'll probably be out acting as volunteer firemen or doing some other job. So it'll be up to you, Mrs. Collier, and the boys to protect your home. One of the worst dangers is fire from incendiary bombs, and that's what this stirrup pump is for. Now, Jimmy, your job is to handle the nozzle. Mrs. Collier, you operate the pump. John, your job is the water supply. It's up to you to keep this bucket filled from those tubs. All right, let's try it. That's fine. You see, this nozzle throws a fine spray, or it can be turned to throw a steady stream. Now, usually an incendiary bomb will fall through the roof of the building and land on the attic floor. Instantly, it starts to burn at very high temperatures. If worst comes to worst, and this does happen, and the house is to be saved, the family must do it immediately. And be sure to remember, when there's a fire in a closed room, open the door carefully. Otherwise, the flame may shoot out and burn you. As soon as the bomb has burned itself out, you go after the flooring underneath with an axe. The burning temperature is so high, the wood may be charred and smoldering on the underside. That's fine. Now, of course, that may never happen. But if an incendiary bomb should fall into your house, it's all yours. Either you know what to do and have the necessary tools, or you'll be looking for some other place to live. Well, let's go upstairs now. I guess that's all down here.
Thus does Sam advise the families in his area. He shows them how to tape their windows to prevent breakage or shattering, and suggests that tape for this purpose be kept on hand. The women, he says, should dress comfortably, and little children should be taught to dress themselves, so their parents can be busy with other preparations in case of a night raid. When bombings first started in London, people gathered in great air raid shelters holding hundreds each. But they soon discovered the danger was greater that way because a direct hit trapped and killed hundreds. One of the safest places they found is a family refuge in the basement of one's own home. Based on this experience, Sam shows his families how to black out the basement windows with heavy blankets, which also protect the family from shattering glass. How to locate the shelter so that, in case the usual exit is blocked, they can get out through a window or another door. He shows them that with a little planning, a basement shelter may be developed which is comfortable and livable. Should the area be threatened with prolonged raids, Sam may recommend that added concrete walls be put up. But for the present, a heavy, solid table, big enough for the family to climb under in case of falling debris, is sufficient. In many cases, porch furniture is used in the shelter. There's usually an electric heater and an electric hot plate, because the open flame on a gas plate or spirit burner might cause an explosion during a raid. And an ample food supply may be kept in the shelter for raids lasting through a mealtime. Sam also suggests that one other room in the house be so equipped that it can be lighted during a blackout. This requires shutters strong enough to resist small fragments and glass splinters, and curtains that will prevent even the slightest light leakage. This room would also be used in case of a gas attack, because gas is heavier than air and might seep into the basement. Should conditions later require it, the windows would be made gas-tight, and a canvas blanket would then be hung over the door in such a way that it could be dropped quickly at the alarm. Sam Rankin and the other men who serve with him as wardens in his area have set up a post headquarters in Sam's garage. The telephone there is an extension of Sam's home phone, which is now given special maintenance by the telephone company. During the day, when danger threatens, someone is always within hearing of that phone. And at night, Sam sleeps with his clothes ready beside the bed.
Rankin?
Report and control calling. Alert yellow.
The yellow light is confidential. The public is not warned until the red, because the oncoming bombers may veer off in another direction. So Sam goes to his post and waits. But on the blue signal, he goes to work. In some places, switches controlling street lights have been placed conveniently at street level. Part of Sam's job is to pull those switches. He cuts off street signs and lighted windows. Local regulations may require that these have outside switches. Police patrol cars turn out to help get automobiles off the street. If this is a daytime raid, Sam stops buses and streetcars and orders the passengers to take shelter in nearby buildings. He gets people off the street. And soon after the red signal, the streets are clear. Sam has trained his families well. They know the safest place is their own home, and that they must stay off the streets. They leave the radio on for any announcements. They do not use the telephone except for vital calls, thereby leaving the circuits and operators free for emergency calls. They see to it that all gas stove burners are turned off, but they leave pilot lights, water heaters, and furnaces on. They know that most casualties are caused by fragments and glass splinters, and they must lie flat should they be caught outside when a bomb falls. And above all, wherever they are, they keep calm. Sam, meanwhile, stands in the semi-shelter of a doorway near his post. Sam carries a pad of damage report forms on which he checks off the damage at the scene of each explosion. This done, he hurries to his post to phone the report and control center. Simple fires or minor first aid he handles himself, calling the report and control center only when he needs help. His call goes into the damage report room at the report and control center, where volunteer operators check a duplicate form. Messengers rush the report to the controller in the next room. He reads it aloud to those seated before him. If police aid is needed, the police representative calls police headquarters. If there's a fire, the fire official orders out the necessary equipment. If telephone wires are down, or a water main broken, or gas or light service disrupted, the representatives of those companies call out their emergency repair squads. A medical corps representative dispatches ambulances for the injured, using stick pins to show which units are in use. And standing by to aid the injured in hospitals and first aid stations are thousands of civilian defense nurses volunteer aides, girls from 18 to 50 who have been trained by the Red Cross. Meanwhile, the damage report Sam phoned in has been handed to the plotter, who, with stick pins, indicates the nature and location of the damage on a large map of the area covered by the Report and Control Center. In case the situation gets to be too much for the Report and Control Center, the controller calls on the main control center for help. The commander there transfers fire equipment, police, ambulances, whatever is needed, from areas less seriously hit. He keeps tab on his entire district throughout the raid by means of a map on which the damage for all report and control centers in his district is plotted. And then, when the raid is over, a white signal flashes from the information center, and the sirens sound the all clear, indicating that the danger has passed. That smoothly functioning system combines the best experience of bombarded areas the world over. And we, the people of this state, are determined, every one of us, to do our part, to protect ourselves, our homes, and our vital industries. In the words of our governor, who is United States Director of Civilian Defense for this state,
yes, we in Indiana are preparing here on the home front. You have just seen in broad outline how the Civilian Defense Program operates. Your State Defense Council and hundreds of county and local councils are busy putting this comprehensive program into effect. You have seen how Air Raid Warden Sam Rankin does his job. There's nothing unusual about Sam Rankin. He's a good, solid, respected American citizen. He might be your neighbor. Perhaps he lives in the next block. Or he might be you. We all hope and pray that Indiana may never be bombed. But the enemy may consider our state an important bombing objective. It has been learned by experience that when people are prepared, the enemy can't do 1/10 the damage that can be done in unprepared areas. Where people are prepared, there will be no panic. Each person will do his part calmly, even if that is only to stay at home and keep out of the way. Indeed, to create confusion and panic is often the principal object of an air raid. No one knows what may happen, what the enemy's plans may contemplate. It is only good common sense to be ready. It is up to every man and woman in the state of Indiana to know what to do under fire, how to protect themselves, their families, and their homes. I am sure that all Indiana citizens will cooperate wholeheartedly with civilian defense activities.